Hello everyone. In this lecture, I'm going to demonstrate to you how to build a chair. Open. Go to our course folder and select the file 2-16 and click on Open. And let's look at the perspective view. If you zoom in and out, you will see two items in there. One is a big wireframe and another one is a chair that's already built. I would probably hide the wireframe. The hide toolbar is on top. Okay, and let's look at the wireframe from the front view. As we can see, some part of it is straight, and there's this curve. However, the curve is really joined with a straight line, smooth joining. So let's start to build one by one. First the straight part, and then we're going to finish the whole loop. Use line so that we're not doing polyline, because we're going to build the wireframe part by part. You can click anywhere to create a line, and then you should press Shift, or otherwise you could also type in the dimension. I will just give you the dimension. I will probably use 400 for the first straight part. So type in 400, press enter. And then you can see that I can go to all directions. However, I want to go only horizontally, so I press on Shift. And at this point, just click on the screen. And I can press enter. I'm done with the first one. As you can see, the little chair is probably too small. It's not the correct scale. Okay, the first line is done, and there's another part. We'll think about how to join the straight line later, but I'm going to build the second part, which is a little bit slant and is somewhere in the front. So I would draw a line, and I think this one we could also use 400 to start. So type in 400, and this time I do not need to use Shift, because I'm just going to make this line slanted slightly. So we sort of have a shape like this. Now let's try to join this corner. So there's a second tool that we need to learn, or an important tool that we need to learn about curve, is curve editing, which if you go to the toolbar and select, by default it's called the fillet curves, and click on it and expand it. There is, of course, fillet curves, and select this toolbar and read the command line. Select the first curve to fillet. So we're going to eventually is to use a command called fillet, which basically allows you to join the two straight lines with a smooth curve at the corner. So as we already know that our line is about 400 millimeter, so think about the radius of this curve. I would imagine maybe I could use 100 as a radius. We could not use the default as 1, because that will be too small and not visible. So I would click on the radius on the top at my command line, and then type in 100. So I'm resetting my radius to 100, and then press enter. And at this point, I'm going to select my second curve to fillet, which is this one. Okay, so once you click, it automatically is done. So we're quite successful in building this part. However, if you decide that 100 as the radius is too big, you could also set as 50. So I started with 100. And now, as we know, the chair is about 450 in terms of the height. So let me measure it and see how much distance we have from the top to the bottom. So I will go to the pull down menu, dimension, and I will select the linear dimension and go to and snap to the end and snap to somewhere which in this case is also an end of the straight line, and basically pull out and try to read the dimension. What happened is this dimension at this point is too small. I can zoom in and read, but if I decide that I don't want to zoom in, I could also change the setting of the dimension and make the text a little bit bigger. So doing that, you need to go to Tools and go to Options and select Dimension, which is very similar as how we set the view. At this point, once you click on dimension, it says the global dimension scale as 1. If we don't want to bother with anything else, we could simply just change the global scale. I could type in 10. What happened is I enlarged my whole dimension 10 times. And I could say, okay. As you can see, the dimension now looks reasonable for this scale. So it reads as 420. Okay, so I could probably just pull out dimension somewhere so that it's not disturbing. And the next thing is I'm going to draw another horizontal line, or simply I could also copy the one that I already did. Both ways will be fine. So I'm simply copying. I think I would probably put it as 450 because that would be the height. So when I copy, I type in 450 and press enter. And I also wanted to copy only vertically, so I press on shift and basically click. You could make multiple copies, and if you wish, you could also type in another distance, let's say 600, and press shift and click. Yeah, once you're done, press enter. However, the second copy is not needed, so I delete it. Move this line a little bit so that it would allow a nice fillet. This is by eye. I would have to move horizontally, so that I have to press shift again and move horizontally. So we're going to do another fillet. You could deselect just by clicking on the screen so that no items are selected. And click on fillet. Select first curve to fillet, and you can read at this point without changing the radius is again 100. Maybe we would like to use radius as 50. So click on the radius and type in 50. Press enter. Select the first curve to fillet as it says under the command line, and select the second curve to fillet. So now we did a second fillet, which is different than the first one because we changed the radius. However, when you work on your own project, you may want to make both fillet same radius. It may look a little bit nicer. And now I'm going to do the back of the seat, just the wireframe. I could copy the same line so that I have the same angle and sort of put somewhere in there. Although this angle seemed to be a little bit too slanted, So probably I just delete and build or just draw a line. And I could start from the end and draw a line. I would say I could do another, let's say another 450, type in 450, press enter. And in terms of the angle, I feel maybe this is better, so that the seat is not, the back is really supporting your back. Now, at the right angle, click on the screen and press enter. So we end up with a straight corner. We need to do another fillet. Click on fillet, select the first line, select the second line. So we did another fillet at a radius of 50. So at this point, this one part of the wireframe is finished. Let's delete the dimension and maybe select the whole thing. As you can see, it looks like just a straight line on the right view. So the next step is to make a copy of this whole thing. At this point, they're all little segments, so be very careful to select the whole thing. And when you select, you could of course select from your front view, or you could also select from your right view. Both are fine. Just make sure that you select all the segments. And once you select, make another copy. Click on copy, and this time we're going to duplicate, but moving in terms of the right view, moving horizontally, and then which will give you the width of the chair. For this case, I would type in 500 as the width. 500, press enter. And of course, you want to go horizontally only, so you have to press shift and then click, press enter. So now I have a wireframe on both sides of the chair. So now we sort of need to connect both the top end and the bottom end. Very simply, we could just draw a line and then do another fillet, because we sort of like it to have round corner. So I would draw a line from the end to an end, press enter, and to repeat the command, I press enter, and end to end, press enter. So once this is done, of course this is a sharp corner. We may want to do another fillet, which we could do at the perspective view or the front view. So I will choose to do it in the front view. Click on fillet again, select the first and select the second, and press enter, repeat, first, second, press enter, repeat, first. But this time there's a little bit of duplication at the corner, so let's zoom in and making sure that we are selecting the right. Oh, I don't think we should do it on at the front view or the right view. We should do it at the perspective view. Okay, click on fillet, click on the first line and the second line, and then enter to repeat first line, second line. Okay, so a simple wireframe is finished. At this point, we probably want to join, because all of this are segments and it's very easy to mess them up by just randomly maybe dragging one accidentally. So to join the whole wireframe, let's not select anything else but only the wireframe, and then click on join. So now the wireframe is joined as one polyline and is closed. There's no opening.